What's the scariest answer you can think of? Maybe it's yes, as in, yeah, that is your car in a high speed pursuit on the freeway. Or maybe it's no, as in, no, I can't find the bear spray. Why? Is it getting closer? Or maybe it's maybe. See, I used to be a big fan of maybe, answering people with maybe. It's non-committal. You're not making any promises you can't keep. It's sufficiently vague so they can make some decisions and think about it. And you're, in a sense, being honest because you're not lying no matter what happens. So it's kind of an all-purpose answer. And I felt that way until I had the audacity to wear shorts in a park. See, what happened was I was wearing shorts. A dog saw my calves and thought, ooh, juicy, came up and bit me. Now, normally it wouldn't be a problem. It was really a minor bite. I was almost nimble enough to get out of the way, so I only got a minor scratch on my leg. But I did need to go get an updated tetanus shot because I hadn't had the tetanus shot in years, and it's apparently a pretty rough way to be sick. So I decided to go get the tetanus shot. Something you should know about me is I am nervous about needles. The issue isn't really the pain, it's the thought of metal going into my body. Being stabbed is not on my list of fun activities. So I'm not good with needles. So the idea of getting this tetanus shot was already uncomfortable for me. And it got worse with the visit to the doctor. See, I go into the exam room in the walk-in clinic in downtown Vancouver. I go and I sit down. And I'm just waiting for the doctor. I wait for 5 minutes in the exam room, right? And eventually this doctor comes in and he walks in and he doesn't even look at me, no eye contact or anything. And I go, hey, how's it going? Just trying to be polite, right? His response, verbatim, word for word, sound for sound, was, ugh. Wow, enlightening. So I kind of take that as he's not ready to talk. So I sit there for a minute, just chill. He goes up to a laptop, he sits down, he looks at the screen of the laptop for 10 seconds of silence, has not looked at me, has not said anything. And you might be thinking 10 seconds, not that long. But let me give you an example. Ten seconds can be a painfully long time of sitting and staring at someone. And eventually, after those 10 seconds, he says, Aaron? And I go, yeah. And he says, why are you here? So I start to tell my story. I say, well, I was in the park and a dog bit me. The bite wasn't that bad, and then he cuts me off and he says, you need an injection. He stands up, walks out of the room. So far, I felt that this was going great because my anxiety around needles was still just as high as it was before. And I felt like this guy hated me for some reason. So my social anxiety is also just up there, spiking. It was fantastic. After a minute, doctor comes back. He's got a needle in his hand and what I assume is the vial of vaccine. It could have been Mountain Dew. I don't know. But he starts loading it up. Still has not really looked at me. He starts loading it up. And one way that I like to relieve my anxiety is asking questions. So I ask, are there going to be any side effects? Or could there be any side effects? And he says, not yes, not no, but maybe. Maybe? Did he not know? That had that anxiety spiking even higher. But I figured, okay, maybe he's just kind of absent-minded, not thinking. So I decide to ask another question. I say, well, could I get a sore arm from this? And he says, possibly, which is just maybe with panache. It does not help either. So I decide to try one more time. I say, will there potentially be flu-like symptoms? And here's where he really got into the detail. He said, rarely. Oh, I'm starting to panic more at the thought of being stabbed when he turns around and starts walking toward me. So I need to buy myself some time. So I say, wait. Is this really necessary? Really minor dog bite? And he says, fully affirming my feeling of fear, he says, no, but might be a good idea. Puts it in my arm, gives the injection, puts a cotton swab on, and says, hold this in place. I hold it in place, full of fear. He then turns around, says, bye, and walks out of the room. Just as he's going around the corner, I go, how long do I hold this here? And he goes, a minute. And then he's gone. The problem here was uncertainty. My anxiety went up the more uncertain I got because I was already nervous. And that's the problem with maybe. Because if he'd added just a little bit of detail, everything would have been so much better. He could have even still said maybe to an extent. Like if he'd said, no, maybe there will be side effects, but they should be pretty minor. That bit of detail makes it so much better. If he'd said, you'll possibly get a sore arm, but if you do, it'll clear up in a day or two. Awesome. That's so much better. And if he'd said, rarely there are flu-like symptoms, but they'll be pretty mild in general, that would have been beautiful. But instead, I got uncertainty and discomfort. And I learned a valuable lesson. Maybe as an answer sucks. So I've resolved that if I know, I'll say yes. If I don't, I'll say no. I'll give the caveats, I'll give the exceptions. And if I am absolutely forced to say maybe, I will give detail. Because there's nothing worse than uncertainty, even a certainty of pain. So I'll say this. Next time someone asks you a question, if you dare to give the scariest answer of maybe, at the very least, have the courtesy to give a bit of detail. Back to you.